in the middle of some mountain with his family and daughter and granddaughter. They're all upstairs, and where he's downstairs, sitting over there, trying to be with us for the next hour or so. Thank you so much, Teddy. He's a LinkedIn strategist and trainer. That's why he's here today and talk to us, as well as a certified career coach. For the past 12 years or so, Teddy has been delivering training programs for businesses, professionals, and guiding them around the best practices and tactics of using LinkedIn as a business tool, which many people do that nowadays. He uses his Toastmaster, Sandler training, Dale Carnegie graduate coach, and certified social media strategy skills to guide people in the best uses of LinkedIn. Teddy regularly delivers corporate training and coaching, public speeches, seminars, virtual training, one-on-one coaching to help others master LinkedIn for business. So LinkedIn. He volunteers regularly in the job search, career transition spaces, and as a SCORE mentor. Typically, Teddy brings ideas and discussions around networking, social media, and how to land your next great job without looking for a job. Hint, it's done by getting into open conversation. Please join me, Teddy, for today's talk. Teddy, you got the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want I have share the results for the poll. Do you want me to share the results or close the poll?
Well, Joanna will close the poll.
Okay.
Yeah, close it. I already got them. Thank you.
All right. So
let me, I'm going to share my screen.
Please.
And we're just going to have a conversation. Actually, let me just not share a screen right now. Let's just make this about us talking. It's just human beings. At the end of the day, the best way to create the best success is to get into open conversations. And by the way, an open conversations does not start with, hey, I'm Teddy. I got this degree. I went to this school and I did that. I used to do this. I used to do that. It's not the best way to start an open conversation. Does anybody know the best way to start an open conversation? Feel free to just shout it out. Go ahead. Is that Becky? Yes.
Ask a question about them.
Yeah. Dale Carnegie said, make the conversation all about the other person. And Teddy adds, because Teddy does this all the time, because I have creative liberty of anything comes out of my mouth. Teddy adds, until they give you permission to make it about you. And if you start a conversation that way, you're more likely to have an audience that's interested in what you do and interested in you, because you're showing them that you're interested in them. So this is going to be a conversation. I'm going to share my screen in a few minutes, and we'll talk a little bit about networking on LinkedIn, a little bit of tactics and some tips. But before you start networking on LinkedIn, you best have and be clear of your purpose. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark. It's like going to, I haven't seen one of these in a while. It's like going to an amusement park and you see that little, those little target things where you shoot the little air gun or digital gun at the ducks and you knock the duck down. It's like you're knocking ducks down. You're wondering why. What's the benefit of connecting like a wild person, but you don't have a purpose? Yeah, Ian, the old shooting galleries. If you don't have a purpose, you're wasting your time. So I'm assuming that most of you are looking for a job. Not all of you. I mean, I don't believe that, Hamid is looking for a job. I'm not looking for a job. But every day I'm looking for a new conversation, because you never know where a conversation is going to take you. So you need to be clear about your purpose. Now, I'm not going to cajole anybody, but most of you may think that the reason you get into conversations is to find out about a job. That's not the reason to get into a conversation. That may become the result of a great conversation, but it is not your initial purpose. Your initial purpose, Stephanie, is to have a conversation with someone and get to know Stephanie, a little bit more about Stephanie, a little bit more about what Stephanie knows and who she does know. And then if you focus on Stephanie to begin with, she's going to hopefully turn it around on you and say, tell me a little bit more about you, Teddy. And I could tell her a little bit more about what I do and what I'm all about. And somewhere along the way, she may ask me, what is my purpose? Maybe she may deduce, is that the right word? Figure out, I go with figure out what my purpose is based on what I share with her. And then along the way, you may have an idea about how to help her, and she may have a way about how to help you. That's called, by the way, networking for mutual benefit. And I know an old dude that wrote that book many years ago, Networking for Mutual Benefit. Google it and let me know if you know who the author is. It was a fun book to read and even more fun book to write. But this is what networking is not about finding a job. Networking is about finding people who may have ideas that you never thought about. And by the way, there's a whole other class that I do. It's called Dream Out Loud, Share Your Dreams of Others. And by the way, you never walk up to a complete stranger ever, Alan, and say, I've been dreaming and I want to share my dream with you. That just won't work, Alan. What you can say is, I've got this really interesting idea that I'd like to bounce off of you and see what your thoughts are. It's the same thing, just a different way of doing it. That's what, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get you to think about is networking is important. And in order to be successful in networking, you need to know what is your purpose, and you need to know who can help you in that journey. And along the way, as you walk by someone that you see may benefit from your time, you stop and you provide it. Because call it what you want to call it. This is in the book I read called Networking for Mutual Benefit. Call it life, God, or karma. When you stop and help someone else, you have no idea how they may be able to help you. And it may just be simply an introduction to her husband, who works as the CIO of one of the largest IT organizations in the city I used to be in, that I was knocking on his door. I did not know his name until I met his wife and offered to help in a nonprofit that she was a part of. So let's go talk a little bit about the tactics. And by the way, I'll pay attention to chat as much as I can. And or you can raise your hand or shout out. If you have a question, just bring it up, because I don't want to simply lecture, because that's no fun for me and maybe no fun for you either. So I got my talking points list. Number one is the number one best practice for you to be successful networking. And that is that when I look at your LinkedIn profile, I'm not confused as to who you are and what you do. When I look at your LinkedIn profile, I get a really good indication about what it is that you do, can do, have done, and listen to these words: enjoy doing. Because when people run into your LinkedIn profile and they're clear about who you are and what you do, can do, and enjoy doing, they will be, if they are relevant to you, they are more likely to pause longer, send an invite to connect, or that's right, Ian and I are already connected, so the connect button is not there, or accept your invitation because they're not confused. So for those of you who've not put any real effort or thought into using as much of your LinkedIn profile as Oren is missing out on his about section, for those of you who have not really spent time building out, and I can't find Julia, stop and think about, what does my LinkedIn profile say about me? And when people read it, are they clear about who I am, what I do, what I can do, and what I enjoy doing? That's the number one tip that I want to share with you. And, you know, really think about what words are you using in your LinkedIn profile? What story are you telling? And by the way, the tip that I dropped earlier was about not using this vertical bar here. And it's only a test that I've done on 5 or 6 different profiles. Ian, I think, has made the change already. Ian, I'd love to hear from you a month from now. No, a couple weeks from now. Did your LinkedIn profile search number increase?
Sure, I'll report back to you later.
I appreciate that. So 1 second. But anyway, I'm not going to go into building a profile, but I do want you to understand the importance. If your profile is clear, then people aren't confused.
Oh,
When they aren't
Teddy,
confused,
I just dropped my LinkedIn profile in the chat. I don't know if you could just give a quick look. I'm trying to figure out what picture to put behind me. So
see if I can remember the key button here. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that picture. I mean, it's just, you know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It doesn't need to be branded. It doesn't need to be, you know, industry branded. It doesn't need to be role branded. Just any kind of image is fine. Anything is better than nothing.
Well, I like that the colors in Carolyn's background picture and her picture coordinate and look good together.
Yeah.
Like the same blues in the mountain or in sort of her background behind her head.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that as well. How many people in business, I'm not going to go much deeper than this. One more question on Caroline. How many people in business that you do today know you as Hoskin?
well, I've been considering networking for people that knew me when I was in college as well. So that's why I put that in there.
Okay.
Is that
Again,
causing a problem?
no, it's not causing a problem. Remember what the word I used earlier, purpose. And you
Well,
said,
I
you said
use
your
Caroline H. Masters because there are other Caroline Masters out there, a number of them that come up on LinkedIn.
No, I'm talking about showing your former name here, and you just
Right.
told me you have a purpose for that, so that's fine. Okay. All right, let's go into networking a little bit more. We talked about you have to have purpose. Talked about, let me just bring this up by itself. Do you know your purpose? Now, here's the other big question. Do you know who are the right people for you to connect with? Who are the humans who can introduce you to the humans you want to have a conversation with? Anybody want to share who, you know, and it's irrelevant what your role is, your industry. Who are the humans that, what I use this term, your most important viewer? Who is your most important viewer in your goal and your journey, focus on your purpose? Anybody?
So I'll go. So I'm trying to meet mechanical engineers and also mechanical designers that are in the Portland, Oregon area.
So Stephanie, you said, I asked the question, who is your most important viewer? And you said mechanical engineers in the Portland area. Are these people who could hire you?
Some of them could, or some of them work for the people who could hire me.
So you just spoke about another really important group of people. And those are the influencers. And you need to be clear as to who are influencers and who is the target audience. Now, they're both important, but know which one is which. Okay. And when I started my business teaching LinkedIn as a business tool, and by the way, I now have another division of the company called teaching Google Workplace as business tools. So my target audience for teaching LinkedIn as a business tool is sales managers and business owners. And the only business owners I focus on are those who play the role of sales manager. That's my target audience. My influencers are the salespeople. So you need to be clear about the difference between the two and know when, or at least hope that you know you're clear about who am I talking to? Am I talking to an influencer or am I talking to a most important viewer, the target audience, the hiring person? Now, Caroline's got a face like she wants to say something.
Well, I'm I'm thinking, are you talking about, so there's the hiring manager, which in my case would be a sales director, sales manager, VP of sales, could be any one of those positions. And then influencers would be other, but would the HR director at a smaller company also be considered a target?
Well, the only time for me, the HR manager would be important to me would be if that HR manager has a need of their own that I can solve. Now, if the hiring manager has a need, the HR let's say the hiring manager is a sales director or the division head in a project management department, then that's my target audience. And all I'm gonna do, I'm never gonna be disrespectful to the HR person, but they are not my target audience. Does
Got
that
it.
make any sense?
Oh, yeah. No, because they're just helping the hiring manager.
That's right.
They're in a
That's right.
support position to the hiring manager.
That's right. Be clear of the role of the person who's going to put the ink on paper. And that's typically the hiring manager, the department head, the division leader, the business owner. And if they have an HR department, the HR person is, I like Carolyn's words, they're a support person. Important support person, nonetheless, but not the most important viewer. Okay. So again, know who you're in your purpose, who is the target audience, most important viewer, and who is the influencer. HR could be a great influencer. Not always, depending upon the size of the company. But know who the influencers are. Questions, thoughts, throw them at me. And also know who can introduce you to the target audience, the most important viewer. And maybe it's the internal influencer, maybe it's an external influencer. Look, if I want to meet somebody that worked for Kennerly Spratling, and I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, I may go down, hunt down Caroline, have a conversation with her. Maybe she doesn't know the hiring manager, but maybe she knows somebody I need to know there. If I need to meet somebody that works for Field Day or worked for Field Day, I'm going to go look for Pablo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Pablo's name right. I may have mispronounced it. Know who can introduce you to someone in the organization or the right person in the organization along your way. Get this all the time. People, we'll talk about this in a few minutes. But you need to know who can introduce you to the people who can help you. Now let's talk about something else that's really important. We've got a whopping 29 people on this call. My expectations, bluntly stated to all of you, is that before, and Becky's like, here comes Teddy, he's on a soapbox. Before you leave this call, you better have shared your LinkedIn profile URL in the chat box. So you have the opportunity to connect with each other. Because to some degree or another, you all know each other. Maybe not well. You know, I've never met, Steve. I don't think I've ever met Alan. I've never met Ross, but we met here just now today. So I strongly encourage you, if you want to get value out of LinkedIn, every single one of you are relevant to each other. So connect with each other. Excuse me one sec. There's no pollen up here. I don't know why I'm coughing. And Steve, I don't know Steve's last name, but he doesn't have a last name on there. If you're on desktop, rename yourself so people can see your last name. because you look like a kind of dude that I'd want to say hi to, because I like the space that you're on. Yeah, there are two groups of people that you want to connect with along the way. Step one, you should connect with the people you already know. If you're a Google Docs person, if you're an Apple cell phone person, you got all your contacts in your cell phone somewhere along the way, then I strongly encourage you to look through your Rolodex, see who you know that you're not already connected with. And if you're not connected to your brother, your sister, if you're not connected to your wife and your girlfriend, if you're not connected to your husband and your boyfriend, and I'm throwing out satirical statements in here, Julie, don't be getting all, this guy's weird. But if you're not connected to people you already know, you're missing out on opportunities, because I guarantee you that there are people that your brother, your mother, your sister, your barista, your neighbor, your best friend, your beer distributor, I have one, by the way, your cigar aficionado guy that you take all your recommendations from, I have that too. I'm connected to all of them. Why do you think I would connect to all of my personal friends? Anybody?
Because they know you, they love you, and they want to help you.
And there's one more big piece to that. Anybody?
They know other people.
Their network.
That's right, their network. They know people you don't know who you may need to know. My barista, her name was Julie in Greensboro, North Carolina. I saw Julie every Thursday. One morning I walked into Julie and she said, Teddy, I see you here all the time. What do you do? I said, well, I have a client here. I teach LinkedIn as a business tool. She goes, who do you teach it to? I said, sales professionals. Well, there's another guy that comes in here. He's a sales manager. You should say hi to him one day. I got her to introduce me to the sales manager of a pretty sophisticated financial organization. You don't know who your barista knows until your barista knows you. So connect with again, the people that you already know today. Then, as I said earlier, connect with people you meet along the way. Look, why do you think I have, where did it go? Angela here and Marty here. Because Hamid already told me that Angela was here last week and Marty's coming up. So I'm going to send both of them later on today, not on your nickel. I'm going to send both of them an invite to connect. Because I was introduced to them indirectly. I was introduced to them along the way. So, and Ian throws out that, there's a philosophy that takes 7 to 8 interactions before people begin to remember you and make a connection. Well, you start from the very beginning. Let me share with you from the very beginning how to start step one of connecting with people on LinkedIn. Let's see if I can find Patrice. I lost Patrice. I know she's here. I just saw there. Her camera's off. I can't talk to her. Her camera's off. Is that going to make her turn it on? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. I'm going to use someone else. Steve. I picked on Steve a little bit. It's okay, Patrice. I got you. So I went to this meeting. I was out in California somewhere, and I met this dude named Steve Attinger. Hopefully I'm not connected to him yet. Sound this is that him? Look this way. Turn your face a little bit. Okay, that's you. So I met this dude named Steve Attinger. I teased him about his background. Seemed like a pretty nice guy. Unmute yourself so you can either support or tell me I'm crazy.
You're crazy.
He works for the city of Mountain View as a sustainable coordinator. Are you still there, Steve?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I'm like, okay. And he knows some peeps that I know. I don't know the peeps that we know because he's hiding his connections. But I'm like, seems like a pretty interesting guy to me. Okay, so I did a little more research and went to Presidio, and he used to work for Tapfire and Natural Step, Stakeware. And I'm like, all right, so how am I going to start my journey of building a relationship with Steve? Yes, I'm going to hit the connect button. But most importantly, step one. Hi, Steve.
I don't know.
Thanks for letting me play with you during the virtual, I have to say the word virtual so people don't get freaked out, during the virtual session today. And I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to go with, please join me on LinkedIn. And I give the dude my phone number. Every invite I send out, I give them my phone number. Anybody want to guess why I would do that?
In case they have some reason or need to speak with you right away. They might look at your profile and think of something that they might see that you're connected to something they want to be connected to.
Yeah, that's a good one. Anybody else got another perspective? I want Steve to know I am accessible. I do not hide behind a LinkedIn profile. Lisa says I'm an open networker. Sort of, kind of. I don't use the LinkedIn open networking philosophy where I connect with everyone. I do not do that. But when I connect with a purpose. Okay. And I send that invite out. And Steve, do you have LinkedIn running?
I can get it open pretty quick. I was actually just looking on my phone to see if it came up.
Okay. If you don't mind, somewhere along the journey here, accept that LinkedIn invite so I can show people what to do next.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
But while I'm waiting for Steve to do that, look, this is really important. You need to be connecting with people along the way. By the way, if you don't know this, in the chat box, and hit the 3 dots, you have the save chat button. Wait to near the end, but do not wait to all the way to the end, but wait to the near to the end of this conversation and then hit that save chat button. So you can get all the LinkedIn profiles that people dropped in here. So look.
Just accept it, Teddy.
Good, I'll get you in a minute in the next step. So this is really important. You are more likely to be successful in life the more purposeful and active you are at connecting with people on LinkedIn. Now, don't misunderstand me. LinkedIn is not the end game. It's just one of the tools. And it's a powerful tool because once you connect with people, you have, in many cases, not all cases, you have the ability to see who are the people that, Stephanie's connected to, that I'm connected to. And who are the people that I'm connected to that are connected to the people I want to meet. It's just an important tool to bring together that whole visualization. That's the first time I said this. That visualization of your network and how do all of the points align, and where do those points align that you've never imagined. And then you go, oh my God, John Martin knows Stephanie Moore Fuller. I need to have a conversation with John Martin in some meaningful way. We're going to talk about that more in a minute. Questions, thoughts, chats? Yeah, and Samson says it's an important tool for us and for the recruiters. I agree. By the way, do not connect with every recruiter that reaches out to you. Do not do that. And I also tell every recruiter that I meet that they should not connect with every candidate because that's going to eventually fail. You're only allowed to have 30,000 LinkedIn connections. You do not want 30,000 LinkedIn connections. You can't manage that. I'm a big networker, but I'm not striving to get anywhere near that 30,000 number, even though I'm about halfway there.
I feel like it's only helpful if someone I know enough to at least say a sentence or two about, because if someone wants me to introduce them and I don't know anything about them, I don't see the point of being connected to them personally.
Stephanie, thank you for helping me set up the next talking point. So look, I sent this invite to this dude named Steve. And Steve accepted my invite. Look, I'm what 36 away from halfway there. And I'm not going to connect with everybody I meet. And I'm not going to necessarily connect with all of you, but I'll give you a little tip that makes you almost as connected, almost as powerful as being connected. So this dude named Steve said, I sent him an invite. He accepted my invite. Now, Steve hasn't played my game. He's not heard my stories. He doesn't know what I would have expected him to do next. At least I don't think he would know. Let me see if he did. I don't think he did. Nope, he didn't do it. So that's okay. But Steve hasn't heard Teddy's story yet. Okay. Hey, get out of my way. Everybody. Oh, I broke it. I got to unbreak it. Give me a second. This. And this. I got it. I'm sorry. I got to be able to see your faces when I talk to you. It's rude to talk to a dot and not talk to the faces. So here, step one of those 6 to 7 steps or whatever for Steve to know who I am. Here's what step 2 is. Immediately engage with the people that you connect with along the way. And for me, this is the way you do that. You do not immediately go to the message button after you connect. If Steve were my target audience, most important viewer, someone who can really help me move my business forward, maybe become a client, what do you think I should do? If I want to move the conversation forward, and I think Steve is someone who's very relevant, maybe potentially very important to my business, what should I do?
Ask a question about him?
How?
Ask him a question?
How? What's the tactic I should use?
So what I've been doing is I do this before I connect, not after, but I ask for like 15 to 20 minute Zoom meeting just so I could know where they're coming from.
Is that when they send you an invite or you send
Yeah.
them?
When they
Yeah,
send me an invite and I don't know them from Adam,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
All right, let me reposition the question. I sent Steve an invite. Steve accepted. I think Steve is highly relevant to my business. What should I do next? What is the click, the tool? What is the thing I should do next?
Send him a link to your next talk.
Nope.
No, in some way,
Say something in
Here,
the messages?
I'm going to make this easy. Pick up the freaking phone. Pick up the phone. If I have Steve's phone number, which I don't have easily, I may have to do some work to get it. Okay. But if I have Steve's phone number, I am calling Steve.
Really?
Why would I want to do
Yes.
that? Because I've already positioned him in this context. He is highly relevant to my business. Why wouldn't I want to say hello to him in real life? Most people just bang on the thank you button and they go, thanks, Steve. And that is not going to move your business forward, not going to move your career forward. And when you make that phone call, what should be the primary purpose of the call?
Make a connection.
And in what context, Stephanie? Inward or outward? Who should it be about?
about them, about asking them what they are looking for or something.
Steve, thanks for the LinkedIn connection, dude. I looked at your LinkedIn profile. I see you work for the city of Mountain View and you went to Presidio. You and I share a bunch of connections, man. Have you been to the West Coast? Have you been to the East Coast? Make the conversation about Steve to get to know Steve a little more, Stephanie, so you have an ability to introduce Steve later. And if you do that right, Steve's going to turn it around on me and say, Teddy, tell me a little bit more about yourself. You would probably not be amazed to know the number of times. Oh, now I can see shared connections. Steve, did you just change and unhide your connections?
No,
You did? You didn't?
nope.
That's weird. Because it didn't show. Oh, maybe
There's a setting in the settings, so you can say only my connections can see my connections,
Or
or
no
you can
one.
say, no one can see it, or you can say everyone can see it. So
No, but I understand the issue because I've been having that problem. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't, the mutual connections.
And the reason that happens is either Steve is hiding his or Oscar. And I think Oscar, because I know Oscar. I think Oscar is hiding his. Because see how, if I go to Oscar, see how it's hidden, there's no click. But if I go over here to Steve's, I can click on it. Steve is not hiding his, Oscar is hiding his. So here, what I was trying to get to you to understand is this. You want to connect in ways that you can get to know them a little bit. I was saying this. You probably would not be amazed at the number of times I've connected on LinkedIn. I've called someone and they go, "Who are you?" after they sent me an invite. I'm like, you're wasting your time using LinkedIn if you're not trying your best. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but trying your best to get to know who these people are.
Teddy, how do you find their phone numbers? Most people don't list a phone number.
And I get that. And so if they work for a business, I may call the business, and I'll say this. If they work for a business, I may call the business. Hey, Steve and I just had a quick chat on LinkedIn. He sent me an invite to connect, and I promised him I'd call him, and I can't find his phone number.
Most companies won't give you the number.
You know what? There's always a barrier. Work to get around the barriers. So if I can't get his phone number, then I'm going to look for his business email address. And maybe I'm going to send him an email to his business email address. Yeah, I'm with most people won't give you information about someone until they and you reduce that number when they discover there's some relevance between you and them. And I'm with you. Not everybody's going to give it to you.
Hey,
But-
Teddy,
Yes.
question. When you said, and I think you surprised probably everyone on the call, when you said, don't message them, call them. And, we're talking about some of the issues of getting the phone number, but that aside, 15, 20 years ago, I could see that. But my question is, in today's day and age, with just the way we interact with each other, and the good old telephone has been relegated to 12th place. And since I know that I don't answer the phone if it's not a number I recognize, and then some people may just like block right away if they, some people do that. I'm almost feeling like going straight out of the gate with a phone number almost feels like, in the way you described calling the switchboard and doing all that, it almost feels like stalking and might put you in a bad light right from the beginning if you're that aggressive.
All right. So Steve, let me come back to the top. Good point. By the way, here's something I would never do. This is going to be coming up in the next talking point, but I'll go ahead and hit it now. Dee Dee Johnston. Do you know her, Steve?
I went to grad school with her.
Okay. I am never going to send her an invite to connect ever until she knows who I am. Do not be this person that finds your target audience on LinkedIn and send them an invite and hope and pray they freaking accept it. If I want to connect with Dee Dee, I'm asking Steve or Gail or one of these other 15 people to introduce me. This is why you start connecting with people you know today. This is why you start connecting with people you meet along the way. Because the bigger you build your LinkedIn network, the more focused you build your LinkedIn network, the more targeted you build your LinkedIn network, the easier it is to meet the next person. So Steve, you're right. If I send Dee Dee an invite to connect, and she accepts it because she's one of those forehead bouncers and bangs on the accept button without thinking about it, and then I call her, she's not going to know me from Adam's house cat. Okay. And I get you, Steve. Maybe you don't answer the phone, but what percentage of the time do you at least listen to the voicemail? 50, 60, 70?
Or more.
Or more? Good. So when I called Dee Dee or I called you after I connected, I don't actually truly do not expect you to answer the phone. I truly don't expect you to. But my voicemail message is going to be all about you and not about me. Touch point number 2, I again made it all about you.
So what you're describing, just to clarify, what you're describing is not a process you use with people you don't really know, that like you've just identified some people that you think could help you, and then you sort of call them cold. I mean, after sending them an invitation, then call them cold. You're not saying to do that. You're talking about using this process of calling for people who you already have established some kind of a connection with. Is that correct?
It might be a very small level of relevance, but you know who I am. If I call you, you get my voicemail. You know who I am when you get that invite. Let's go back and retouch that. Look, very deliberately, if I want to connect with one of these folks on here with Deanne, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing, hang on.
Deanne Jady.
If I want to connect with Deanne Jady, I am not sending this lady an invite to connect. If I truly want to connect with her because I connect, what's the word I use in the very beginning? With a purpose. I'm going to ask Ian to introduce me to her. Now, here's what I've got to hope. Ian, do you know Deanne?
Only from C6.
TV6. Is she?
Only from here.
Oh, I thought you said TV6.
C6, this meeting is C6.
Well, good. So you've at least met in that context. So if I wanted to connect with Deanne, I'm looking to see if she's on here still. There she is. Her camera's off and she's muted. If I want to connect with Deanne, I'm going to ask Ian. Ian, how well do you know Deanne? That's question number 1. And he must come back and say to me, well, let me lay it all out. Question number 1, and this is usually in an email. I'll usually send Ian an email. Okay. And I don't have Ian's profile here, but I'll send him an email, or I'll call him if I haven't talked to him in a while. And I'll say, Ian, this is what I'm trying to do. I met this lady named Deanne. She used to work for Western Digital. And I want to just say hi to her because I think she may know somebody that I want to talk with. Do you know her well? Next question. Do you think that Deanne is the right person I should connect with in regards to meeting someone else at Western Digital? I'll position it. Maybe I want to meet the sales manager. Maybe I want to find out who the sales manager is. I'll give some purpose for my intent, for my goal. Number 1 question, do you know her well? Number 2 question, do you think she's the right person for me to connect with? And then the call to action. I usually say, if so, which assumes yes to the other 2 questions. If so, would you forward this email to Deanne so I can connect with her on LinkedIn and see if she has a moment to chat about Western Digital or whatever my purpose is? If Ian knows her well enough, he'll forward that email to her. He'll copy me on the message. He may add his 2 cents about me to better position me, hopefully. And hopefully Deanne gets that email and maybe responds back. maybe responds back in the positive. And either way, once I sent, and once Ian sends her that email, I'm not waiting. I'm gonna send Ian a LinkedIn invite, the connect button. I'm gonna use the personal note. And I'm gonna say, Deanne, I appreciate Ian introducing us. I saw you recently left Western Digital, whatever the words are. And I thought I'd reach out to say hello. And if you do have a moment, I'd love to ask you a question at some point. But I'm starting with the purpose of this. The purpose of an invitation is one thing and one thing only, and that is to connect. Everything else comes after that. So in the context, and so if Ian sends her an email and says, hey, I want to introduce you to my buddy Teddy, he's a really cool dude. He's a fun guy to hang out with in the Tennessee mountains and chase black bears, and you know, and introduces me. That's touch point number one. I send her an invite to connect with her again. Hey, I appreciate Ian introducing us. Saw some relevance, saw whatever. That's touch point number two. Touch point number three is when she accepts, and I either call her if that's appropriate, email her if that's appropriate. If the least possible thing I would do would be to send her a LinkedIn message afterwards. Again, the goal is to connect with the right people who can help you on your journey every step of the way. The tactics are not just to connect, but to get into a conversation. Can you do it with everybody? Maybe not. Can you do it more and more? Maybe. Questions, thoughts? Yeah, there are tools out there, Caroline message tools that you can use to find phone numbers. So, but again, if you've got purpose, if you're focused on your goal, if you're focused on building your LinkedIn network all around you and all around the people who are relevant to your goal, this gets easier. Any questions, thoughts?
Teddy, yeah, I get this when you have a very clear goal. When you have multiple goals or you're reinventing yourself, as it were, then things are a little more complicated.
Yes and no, Caroline. Have you reinvented yourself, or are you still on that journey?
Well, I have settled on a focus for the
well, time out. You just used a horrible, horrible word, and I have to call you out on that. And I'm doing this with care. I'm praying that you didn't settle on something.
Okay. Yeah, that was a very bad choice of words. I understand what you're saying. I heard it as soon as I said it and said, whoops, that is not, because I have been creating lists of exactly what I want in my next position and all the best things, and doing contrast and clarity. I've been doing those exercises, and it is what is the important focus for right now.
Okay.
As opposed to what I want to be doing 2 years or 5 years from now.
It's a step.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. And Caroline, I did this December 15th, 2010. I quit my IT industry and completely rebranded myself. And if Hamid and Joanna want me to come back one day, I'll bring the conversation of dream out loud, share your dreams with complete strangers, which is the journey I went on to discover I love to run my mouth. I love to train and coach and guide. And I became a public speaker, and I love social media. So by golly, it made all the sense in the world for me to become Teddy Burriss, LinkedIn strategist, trainer, and coach. So yeah, and so along the way, I had to change my focus of who are the humans that I want to meet and get into conversation with. But it's exactly the same steps because Carolyn, I don't care who these 1,100 people are you're connected to. I promise you that they know people who play in this new sandbox with these new toys that you want to play with.
Okay. Well, it's a similar sandbox, but a different focus. It's still US manufacturing, but in different problems, different issues, talking to many of the same folks. Yeah.
And by the way, I did that. People for 35 years, I was Teddy Burriss, IT consultant, strategist, professional. And I had to come up with a statement so people were clear that who I am and what I do today. And it wasn't a 60-second commercial. Please pardon me while I throw up. It wasn't a 30-second commercial. I still choke on that. It was a 17-second statement. I'm Teddy Burriss. I'm a LinkedIn strategist, trainer, and coach. My new purpose is to teach people how to use this business tool appropriately. So when you come up with that, then you can walk up to the peeps that you knew before. They go, huh, what the heck is that? And then you get to tell them. So again, what I'm trying to share with you is, you want to have purpose and goal. You want to be focused on the target audience, most important viewer, the people who can move you forward. You want to connect with people you meet along the way, connect with your peeps, your friends, your barista, your barmaids, et cetera, et cetera. And then when appropriate, ask this question. Here is probably the most important question you can ask anybody that you have a conversation with. And you should never forget to look for the opportunity to ask this question. Is everybody's ears focused to the screen? Because I'm about ready to give you the most powerful question you can ask anybody. Once they know a little bit about who you are, the question is this: who do you know that I should meet next? That is not who do you know that has a job in their pocket. That is not who do you know that knows where the next great job is. Who do you know that I should talk to next? And again, in your 17-second statement and your conversation with them about them, that they let you turn it and make it about you, they'll get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, what you like to do, what you enjoy doing, what wakes you up in the morning excited to do. And maybe something will trigger them to think about, oh my God, Caroline, have you met the guys at Wipro? Caroline, have you met the guys that, run the new camera division and for school buses? Caroline, have you met the people that started this brand new company that have these barriers for warehouses that keep us from knocking down walls and driving our forklifts off edges? And then you can say, oh my God, Teddy, no, I haven't. Who is that? And I'm making this next part up because I can't remember the guy's name. It's Billy Bob Boy. And you could say, would you do me a huge favor and just introduce me to Billy Bob Boy? If you never forget to look for the opportunity, which means you can't force it, to ask that question, who should I meet next?
Who should I meet next? Yeah.
And then someone shares an idea, then you need to be ever so grateful and ask them, would you do me a huge favor and introduce me to them? You can do it by email or text message if you want, or WhatsApp or whatever, or LinkedIn. Networking to achieve your goals will work when you are purposely thinking along the way, who is it I want to talk with? Who is it that I could get introduced to? And never forgetting the steps. Get introduced, send an invite, follow up with a message to them. And if the conversation continues in any way, listen to these words: get the heck off of LinkedIn and move the conversation to kneecap, or eyeball to eyeball, or if you have to, ear to ear. Because you can't create the greatest success through LinkedIn messaging. Questions, thoughts, ideas, freaking anybody out? Anybody run away yet? Becky's laughing.
So Teddy, I had a very interesting conversation and it hit on a lot of the points. This was about probably about an hour or so ago. And, you know, I met this gentleman in Santa Clara. It was an IoT conference and I haven't seen him since 2018. And I connected with him just about a week or so ago and asked a lot of those questions about, how did he get into the business that he's in right now? What problems was he solving at the time? How can I help him? And then the other contacts, and before I knew it, he had about 3 or 4 people that he could able to introduce me to. So just a conversation.
Yeah, with you. I think it was Joanne. Joanne, help me if I'm saying this wrong. Joanne, didn't you introduce me to about 6 or 7 speakers that I could bring to my show?
No, not me.
Maybe it was somebody at Nova. It was through this. Maybe it was somebody at Nova that you introduced me to, and then she introduced me to 6 or 7 speakers that I brought to my show. I mean, unbelievable if you do it right. It's called Lead with Give, and you lead with give with no expectations. And you have no idea. Joey, I'm pretty sure you introduced me to somebody, I think at Nova. And then that lady introduced me to a bunch of speakers. Oh, so what Steve was saying, I think Stephen was saying, you start a good conversation, you build a little bit of trust, and the next thing you know, the doors are open for more and more and more conversations. But along the way, never forget this: always be grateful and always look for a way to help them. So I dropped in chat my LinkedIn profile URL. I dropped in chat my YouTube channel, which is rich with LinkedIn videos. I dropped in chat my Quora profile. Feel free to go to Quora. You don't have to pay to be a member. Just ask questions through Quora and I will answer them. I think I dropped into chat somewhere the link to, there it is, my Wednesday 11, it's not 1:55, it's 11:55. I fat fingered that. It's 8:55 your time. Every Wednesday I do a show where I bring some of these speakers in to have rich conversations, all kinds of topics that may be of interest to all of you in different ways. So feel free to follow me there. I will offer to you, I probably won't accept. No, I will. There's no reason why I shouldn't. And for each of you who sent me an invite, most of you probably didn't follow the rules that I lay out. And that is to always have a personal note to your invite. But hopefully moving forward, you do. Every invite has a personal note. After you connect, you then message or engage with them further. If I can help you in any way, just look me up. And unless there's questions, I'm done.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very, very much. Let's give it a
Thank
big
you,
round
Teddy.
of applause. Wonderful. What a lively